Our final match of the day. It's going to be Canberra Havoc versus Cringe Society. Should be a big one, of course, if Canberra Havoc are able to perform the way they have been the last couple of weeks. But also, it could just be a 4-0.
It could be. It's going to be interesting because, as you said before, this is a really good opportunity for teams to try something new, to experiment with maybe some new play styles or some new kind of setups. So we could see Cringe Society potentially be a little bit more sloppy than we're used to seeing, but at the same time, they could just be, all right, we're consistent, we know exactly how to play that's effective, and we're just going to execute. So it could really be two things.
I also seen kind of Canberra Havoc haven't really consistently been able to execute the same style that they always want. We've had them go hyper demo heavy at some points and sometimes go for none of them. And they've always looked better when they're going for a lot of demos. It's sort of surprising to see them back off on certain plays in that regard.
It is because, when something's working and something's effective, you almost kind of want to push down that line and really explore if that can be a viable strat that works. And, Canberra Havoc being demo heavy can cause some missed rotations and put players under the pump. So if they're able to execute it well, let's do it. Let's go for it. But you're right. Canberra Havoc in the moment are just kind of stuck between two styles.
Yeah, well, we'll see pretty quickly, I think. We're going to head into the game nice and early to see who does take it down, but I just actually quickly have to check whether the match up. It looks like Deck is still taking a while to get in, so maybe we have to wait for him for a little bit. So we have a bit more time to chat. I mean, and when it comes to Cringe Society, they're currently power ranked #1, and yet they lost the last two regional events, right?
I mean, they did, but I think with Cringe Society as well, they've always been in that top seeding. So they either come first or second. They're never really a third place finisher. So I feel like with them, they do deserve that #1 ranking. But you're right. They're a team that can potentially have some upsets with them.
Yeah, although they went, almost undefeated throughout the entire weekend until they met Ground Zero. They took their first game loss at all, individual game loss, in the semi-finals against Gaming Gamers, which they still very comfortably won, I think 4-1. But they took down Canberra Havoc in round 3 of stage 2. So they took him down 3-0. It looked like it was a comfortable series there as well. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be very confident in this one.
I think they will be. I think Cringe Society in general are pretty confident with most of the teams they go up against. Even against Renegades, arguably, they would probably feel comfortable because these are guys that have been around the scene for quite some time. Deca, Torsos, and Drippe have been to get within the scene for a very, very long time. They know each other so well, and they are able to complement each other really well as well.
Well, I guess it's going to take a bit of working, of course, to see just how far these guys are able to go. Because remember, Canberra Havoc almost took down Renegades. I feel like Canberra Havoc could be challenging top 4, top 5 pretty soon. They took down Mind Freak on the weekend as well. There is a lot of potential here. And again, it just really requires a bit of consistency.
It does, because we do know that they have the potential. A few seasons ago in the RLCS, they were able to, break through and, have a surprise upset. So they definitely have that potential. It's the consistency that needs to be worked on. But looking at the standings at the moment, and obviously towards the bottom, but that can quickly change. If they get a win here, they can start to have a bit more progression through.
Yeah, a win not only puts them in a good position, but also would send Cringe Society into a pretty tied up area of the pitch too. So of course you are expecting Cringe Society to be coming out of today very much on top, but again, it would really have huge ramifications if Canberra Havoc do take it.
Exactly. So it's pretty much like a win-win. If they manage to go gangbusters and take it, then it's an amazing feat for them. But if they lose, then there's nothing really lost, so to speak.
Yeah, although at some point in the season, they definitely need to take a victory, Canberra Havoc. They'd have to take it against Fury. Yeah, I'd say for the most part, again, when you've got a kind of long-term league like this, you want to get better as the league goes on. You want to be really challenging the top at the end. And let's say you did become the best team in OC by the end of it, by the end of the 6, 7, 8 weeks. Then you've got a chance to run the entire length of the gauntlet anyway and still take the victory.
Oh, some good pressure already by Cringe Society here. I actually got confused about who Tursos was. He wasn't in his usual decal setup there, but nice pressure built up by them, and Decker's being able to get the first goal.
Here's a bit of a hint for you, Jupiter. His name on the pitch, it's Torsos. That's, yeah.
I mean, true, yeah, definitely.
Now we've had the lesson. It's over.
All right,
I hope chat is also aware of who Torsos is now. That he is the most decorated player in OC. He's also a player who's pretty much had very similar car designs for a very long time, and this is actually one of his older ones, I think, for the most part.
See, I'm not very new, but I'm more newer in the scene, so haven't been experienced in his wide variety of decals, but they are very stylish.
Well, we'll see what Canberra Havoc can do. They haven't had any real pressure yet, and they haven't had the chance to go for some big demos, but I know they've been happy with how they've been playing in scrims, looking to convert that more to tournament, and I feel like the league is that kind of middle step, right, where in a tournament there's not that pressure, so they should hopefully be able to execute closer to scrims than they normally are when the pressure is on.
Yeah, exactly. And even within the league, we mentioned it before, there's not that huge pile of money to play for, so it does take the stress off a little bit, and like you said, they should be able to execute from that.
Early goal still in Cringe Society's favour. That's a big challenge from Torsos. He's going for the bump too, but he couldn't find Leduc. It doesn't matter, he finds the ball on his way out.
I love that rotation by Torsos. He goes for the aggressive bump there by Leduc, but he's still available for that pass because Leduc definitely had that covered, but wasn't expecting the sudden touch by Torsos.
It was funny too because Torsos completely fluffed his wave dash on the way out. Still made it work. The wave dash is probably what he was trying to use to get to Leduc, and that threw him off, though Torsos has got a solo play too. Torsos, for me, as well on the weekend, was the best player for Cringe Society. It's nice to see him step up and have a big week as well, because he had a massive week in the league as well last week.
And that could be the deciding factor. If someone has a good time in the league, as you said, they could potentially have some really good success in the matches to come and the leagues to come. So if Torsos and the team perform well, it could be an indicator of what's to come.
Well, as Rocket League gets free to play, Torsos should take advantage of his very, very vast amount of experience. But it always feels like when you're in, that experience sort of works more for those big tournaments, and these smaller ones are where those upsets are more likely to happen. I mean, you even look back at Forbidden Gaming versus Cringe Society taking that one down. You're never going to see that in RLCS, just based on the kind of pressure and nerves that usually get people down in that.
Yeah, exactly. When you're playing in a tournament where there's not as much to play for, you almost play a bit freer, and you try and not take too many risks. You try and play as solid as possible, which sometimes is not the way to go. You want to have that surprise factor when you're going for plays, and I feel like Torsos and the team can definitely have that.
Canberra Havoc has so far spent so much time in defense. Is exactly what Canberra Havoc want, but it also could be potentially still fine for Canberra Havoc. They've liked going for a counter-attacking playstyle in the past, and you even saw in that play they were able to, pretty quickly counter-attack here.
Yeah, I remember watching them a little while ago when they were originally this team before they split up. They very good at counter-attacking, as I muffle my words there, and we're seeing that happen today as well. That
is a good shot from Spydoge too, and the ability to read that Drippe wasn't going to get that touch is actually what makes this play. That's very surprising too, because Drippe is one of the best at reading that backboard bounce.
Yeah, I think he was just stuck in a very awkward position. He didn't have a lot of momentum walking or driving towards that back post, and it left him in a very uncomfortable situation, which Spydoge took advantage of.
I mean, I do feel like you could describe it as walking. We say that the cars kick the ball, so they must have legs, and a big bump will open it up for Walcott, and now we're starting to see Canberra Havoc come into a path of their own.
Spydoge did a very Torsos-esque play where he got that touch and then immediately followed up with some kind of demo opportunity, and this time it works out. So, those aggressive rotations across the goal line can have massive dividends.
1 minute remains, so it could go down to this next goal as Drippe fakes out too, flicks the last, but Spydoge is up to the effort. And even there, Torsos has committed pretty hard. So has Decker. It should be a 2v1 or even a 3v1 in this situation, but Torsos just gets back in time after very strongly committing to that first play. His mechanics, his recoveries come up quick. This is a massive pre-jump from Leduc. He's got that back down, and that's in the goal. Leduc pre-jumped that 3 seconds before Spidoja's touch.
That was amazing to watch. As you said, Leduc pre-jumping, have all the faith that Spidoge was going to hit it long and was able to drop it down directly to where Spidoge was. Very well executed counterattack.
Brilliant play coming out from Canberra Havoc in a spot that, you kind of saying is dumb, but it works out for them, and this is definitely what you'd call a stupid play.
Yeah, this is not what you want to have. After getting such a nice play in the counter-attack, you don't want to give up the kickoff goal. But, it is a situation that's happened. Drippe getting a counter-attack kickoff goal, and now there's equal scoreline with 30 seconds.
It's actually so Canberra Havoc to put all the work into going for this massive pre-jump save and then give up 2 kickoff goals. I've never seen anything more Canberra Havoc in my life.
I like the way Decker was able to get a touch past the attacker there, or the defender, I should say. Just got enough on it to put the ball down in a good position for Drippe. So this is what I like about Cringe Society. They're never completely out of the play. 30 seconds, no problem at all. They're able to get 2 quick goals.
I don't know what sort of brilliance they have to do next, or, insanity at least when it comes to going for sort of pre-jumps that they did to make another goal, because it doesn't seem possible now as Torsos has carried this one away. He'll be able to buy tons of time. Look for a flip reset, maybe even a fake flip reset. And that should be all she wrote. After Canberra Havoc took control with only 30-odd seconds left, they suddenly let it go away in regulation time.
I mean, if you had a look at the match, and at that point where you saw Canberra Havoc score, you're like, yep, 30 seconds remaining, they've got this. But you can never discount what Cringe Society do. They get very, very good kickoffs there, and they're able to execute quite well. But yeah, just for Canberra Havoc, you have to almost feel bad they weren't able to have a little bit more influence in that last 30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't really feel bad because they were the idiots who let themselves get own goal on.
True.
Straight into their net, that's got to be on Walcott number 1, but certainly if you've got a bit of a dangerous kickoff, you want to have somebody at least able to get back to your own net at some point in time, but they were so far away from even being able to defend that it was a bit clown-like, but we saw a lot of that on this past weekend. We saw a lot of crazy plays, and big mistakes happen across the Oceanic top 16.
Yeah, definitely. It's never a situation where OCE is super consistent with a lot of their plays. There's always going to be some big mechanical fault or some kind of upset play that happens, and I guess today is no different.
Spidoge has a chance there, and he takes it brilliantly. Absolutely mechanically as well, and I think the thing that gets Spidoge across the line on a lot of these plays is he doesn't worry about the fact that Drippe is up there going for the ball.
No, he doesn't. He almost feels like he's in free play and he's just going for the ball as quickly as possible, which is the common thing that we all do. We try and hit the ball as fast as possible. He just has that next level of, understanding that no one's going to get to it before he does.
Well, Ducks pinch that one into the midfield. Canberra Havoc putting up more of a fight than some people expected, but you shouldn't be surprised given how they've played the last couple of weeks and given some of the results that they've got, or at least threatened to get, including a Game 7 against Renegades. And sometimes they create a bit of their own luck, the way that they like to go for pre-jump saves and crazy counterattacks, and as you saw earlier with the pre-jump aerial pass play. So it certainly can be interesting to watch how the series goes when they're involved.
Especially if they're feeling confident as well. We start to see Canberra Havoc going for those pre-jump plays, going for some of those awkwardness that makes them so dynamic in the play. And we almost see Spidoge again.
It's very interesting when you talk about confidence too, because I know not long ago Leduc was feeling very unconfident as a player, especially mechanically, right? So he's looking a lot more confidently, and maybe even in a position where his teammates are telling him to just go for a lot more stuff.
Well, I remember having a conversation with some people about Leduc being, when he had so much inconsistency with his touch in terms of being unpredictable, he was the most confident and the most hard to read. But, having that confidence to go for any ball is going to have a massive impact on his gameplay.
Duck now has a chance again. Has soared past him in that play. Even still, Cringe Society need to find a goal. They haven't really had much success, much attack, many chances just yet. As Spidoge will go for the bump there, but it was not really communicated early that that was going to happen, so no one ready to secure the goal.
Walcott now taking it to the side, but Decker beautifully read there, is able to get a pass off to Torsos, but Leduc getting enough there to mitigate that attack. And we're starting to see Canberra Havoc having a little bit more influence. And I just now realized as well that they've had the lead for quite some time and have kept Cringe Society scoreless so far.
Yeah, that's surprising, but there hasn't been any kickoffs yet, so hard for them to drop 2 goals in a row apparently without kickoffs. But they've been doing quite well. We'll see if they can continue holding on, but they've also been, I guess, creating some pressure of their own. They've had some good passes as well that I've been really impressed with. And Cringe Society, I think, playing a little bit into how Canberra Havoc like, because Canberra Havoc do like going for more of a counter-attack play, and at the same time, when Cringe Society are committing, they're often going a little bit too hard on the attack.
I honestly thought that was all the way in, but Drippe just getting the right timing there to keep that ball out. But Canberra Havoc looking very strong on attack right now. They're going for a lot of pre-jumps. They're keeping this ball locked in. Even Spido's just saying, coming off the side there to keep that ball forward.
Well, that is purely down to confidence. I mean, they're really outpacing Cringe Society in a lot of these plays, more because they're just going up before anyone really rightfully has, before, most people would even have a chance to read it. And you're kind of seeing Cringe Society playing a bit more patiently, making sure they can secure a good touch with every play. But for Canberra Havoc, I don't feel like they need those good touches. They're at the moment just trying to keep the ball away from Cringe Society, and that's probably their plan on how they keep this lead.
Well, that's exactly right. If they can keep the ball away from a team that has so much influence on their attacking plays, then they're going to be able to maintain this lead. And they've done a fantastic job so far of keeping the ball away. And even just there, the Duck jumping super quick to that challenge.
Maybe this is the danger of the new Cringe Society play style, where they are playing a lot more solid overall. Torsos, he could have just let that go. He had so much room, so much time, but he will make up for it in the end. He'll find the net after a couple of big turns.
I think this is where Cringe Society, that next step up is where they go for some, crazy plays where we saw Torsos getting it off the roof, then getting a ground pitch at the same time, like just getting extra touches that aren't really expected and keeping the ball away from Canberra Havoc as well. So I love that play.
Walcott has to make something of his own again. And, Canberra Havoc haven't been super threatening since they got that 1-goal lead. They've certainly been on attack a lot and, created some light opportunities, but they haven't really been opening up the net too. So I do worry if they aren't able to score a goal here. There's Walcott again. We'll have one more shot, but, Cringe Society have just been so steady, so stable the last few weeks.
They have. They've looked very solid, very hard to, discredit them to what they do. They managed to put on some good shots and maintain a lead. And, they actually drop a game here at 0 seconds.
Yeah, that was crazy from Canberra Havoc. I can't believe they managed to keep it up, keep taking out players from Cringe Society. And I was also even surprised that Leduc got that angle. It looked a little awkward for him. The Canberra Havoc tie up the series, and against Canberra Havoc, not many people have even taken games off them, in this season.
Yeah, exactly. They're a team that dropped very few matches in a series, and I feel like this is going to really kickstart them to be a little bit more aggressive in this next match, because they did stay a little bit more passive. I think they were trying to almost incorporate Canberra Havoc's style of going in for the counterattacks rather than challenging as fast as possible, and it just shows that maybe they need to be on that aggression.
It felt a little risk-free from Cringe Society, like they push it forward, hope that Torsos maybe makes a big play, and sure, Torsos certainly got involved, but there wasn't much more outside of that. It also looks like Drippe is not having the best day either. But I think, maybe they're just playing a little bit too comfortable and confident themselves, and they go the opposite way when it comes to confidence. They just play relaxed, a little bit slower, and they try to just get that little bit better touch. Usually when they're versing the likes of Renegades in Ground Zero, they up the pace a lot.
Yeah. I have to agree. I feel like there was almost that unspoken comment that they were going to win this series 4-0, and they've taken the gas off the pedal a little bit in terms of their pressure, and now this is going to really kickstart them to speed it up and take this game a little bit more seriously.
Especially against a team. I mean, sure, maybe they made a bit of a lucky run to make it to Worlds back in the day. But, people counted them out then and they did better than expected. And I feel like people still somewhat counting them out now. And you really just can't when they have a history of making that work for themselves, making, any kind of series difficult for their opponents. Canberra Havoc here could get a lot more, but I feel like this game is going to be pretty important for them.
It is. It's going to be a massive turning point. If they manage to get this game away from Cringe Society, it's going to be a huge confidence booster, and it's going to catch Cringe Society by surprise a little bit as well, because they, think that they are able to have a lot more influence on this game than they do. Yeah,
I have a feeling that Cringe Society probably would chalk the last game up to luck. But realistically, I mean, Cringe Society only won game 1 off kickoff goals, right, in the end. So they probably do feel like that, but they maybe shouldn't. It's certainly a closer fought battle than even they'd think.
Exactly, and if you're only winning the game off kickoffs and you don't have a high-scoring game, then it limits your opportunities to have a massive influence on attack. So they can't rely on these kickoff goals to be the game winners.
Spidosh here is again winning the race to a ball, almost gets the extra touch. So he committed to going for that a little bit late, which actually, wasted a lot of the momentum that he had, and that's what caused him to be a little bit slower to that ball. Walcott and Leduc looking together, but Decker's read that well. Leduc clearing it down. No follow-up at the moment for Canberra Havoc, but actually there is because of the bump, and a great recovery from Spidosh. Gets that past one more. He almost did. It would have been a goal if he'd beaten out Drippe there.
That was a really good aggressive attack there from Leduc to get that demo onto Torsos. It really opened up some opportunities for attack, and they've been able to keep this ball pretty much towards their own attacking side, Canberra Havoc, so they're able to adapt really, really well.
Yeah, it's a complete turnaround. When they were 1 goal in the lead in the last one, they kind of felt like they were just trying to pin it forward and they weren't making opportunities. But now that it's a tied game, the beginning of this one, we're actually almost more than halfway through, they're looking a lot more aggressive, and they've made more opportunities overall than Cringe Society.
They have. They've been able to, keep the ball away from Cringe Society, not really give them an opportunity to set up a good passing play or a good counter attack. And I feel like that's where Cringe Society has their most success, is when they're able to, execute those plays and put on dangerous shots.
Pass out to Decker, and again, Cringe Society struggling to get this one out of defense, though a mistouch from Walcott could certainly hurt them, and actually ends up being a back pass through to Leduc. This is giving some space to Drippe. Not a ton of boost to be able to make a big play, but the defenders don't know that just yet. It still doesn't matter. Walcott actually played that as if he knew that the boost was quite low.
I think it's very intuitive as well with these players. They have a sixth sense for when a player has or doesn't have boost, and I feel like that really affects their way in challenging, and Walcott getting the better read there as well. And this is where Canberra Havoc are having a lot of influence. They're keeping the ball away from Cringe Society. They're challenging fast, and they, not giving him any options for an attack.
The play earlier from Leduc where he missed that ball is also kind of just a sign back to that confidence we're talking about. The fact that they're just going up to be as fast as they possibly can. Even if they can't hit the ball, they're faking out Cringe Society, putting them in awkward spots. Now it's a chance for Walcott. Gets shut down from Torsos. Decker will be up with 30 seconds to try and secure this game. Next goal should be able to win it. Spidosh again looking for his teammates, but it's a massive play from Torsos. It's a bump in the midfield. It's one end to the other, and it's one mistake and one big play from Torsos to make it a win.
I think that was the first mistake that Canberra Havoc made that was really crucial, was that you could see both of their players sitting in that midfield and both facing the wrong direction as well. Like, there was no one really covering that long clear option, and that opened up an opportunity for Cringe Society to strike.
Yeah, credit to Torsos as well. He made an unreadable play. He went early up onto the roof before the attack happened and allowed himself to intercept that one, get the shot from one end to the other, and all it was from there was a midfield bump. So overall, really worked hard for this victory, Cringe Society, and I think they'll be quite happy now in the end that they got game 1, because it's being a lot harder than they really thought. But at any point in time, you really feel like Cringe Society could start running away with things.
I mean, they definitely could. Like, I felt like Cringe Society now, they did have to work really hard for that goal. It did come down to Torsos just being a little bit faster and a bit more unpredictable than what Canberra Havoc were to get that goal. And, looking at the scoreline and looking at the point distribution, I know it's not a great indicator, but, it was really, really even across the board except for Torsos, who was having a bit more influence.
Yeah, I mean, Torsos continually ends up having big days as well, and that's always awesome to see that he's kind of got back into his comfort zone, because I feel like when they got into this new style, he felt a lot more stifled, but now he's still playing a bit more reserved, he's still playing more controlling and consistent, but he's also finding ways again to go for those big plays and make his mechanics count.
Exactly, and we're starting to see Cringe Society now having a little bit more time on the ball. A nice fake there by Decker, goes for the low 50 as well. And a team bump by Canberra Havoc. These are some dangerous signs for them, but they still managed to put a shot on. Yeah,
they certainly are finding ways, but, a lot of it is sort of risk-based from Canberra Havoc. They'll go fly for something. You even saw with Spidoge go off the roof. It takes them out of the play. It's kind of high-risk, high-reward stuff. And I think that's also a good strategy against, a top team to try and catch them off guard. You just go for it, make a little bit of luck for yourself.
I mean, we made that comment with Fury, how they were playing, a little bit safer, and they weren't really taking necessary risks to try and beat their attackers or beat their opponents. So I like the fact that Canberra Havoc are taking the risks, and, they're actually working out to their favor as well.
Well, Walcott has the breakaway now. Decker should be back in time. It's actually more difficult than I thought. He had to use the post to get that one away, but combined with Torsos, they've really managed to get that one out of defense.
That was very, very nail-biting. I almost felt like that could have gone in, but like you said, Decker just getting enough of recovery there to get to that save. And we're starting to see now Canberra Havoc try and force this attack as there's probably not a lot of boost remaining for Cringe Society.
Well, they're starting to bark at this net pretty heavily, but no bite just yet either. It stays 0 apiece now. Canberra Havoc really looking to try and open it up, but Drippe has kept that one away at the same time. Will continue on as Spidoge in the defensive half gets the save. It's 50'd out of defense, but it's not really lending to a goal just yet.
Not just yet, but there is plenty of time on the clock. We've still just got under 3.
Walcott now breaks away. Shush. Really started to growl. Don't tell me to shush me. He's handling his little puppy right now, but and that's not a euphemism, folks. Leduc will be trying to get this one out, but it's staying at 0 apiece. But Cringe Society at the moment having the most control over this game, over this match, over the pressure that's happening now. And Torsos looks at the solo play. He should have an extra touch there. He actually fakes it out, fakes me out, and that's a massive team bump to open it up.
Apologies about that. There's a couple of issues happening, but we do have our first score. Decker coming through with the goods to get that first one just at the halfway mark.
You don't like to see it, but again, I think when you come to making your own luck, like Canberra Havoc have been attempting, it also can make your own fails. They kind of just jumped for that one a bit too hard and kind of gave that goal away for free. And this is always a worry, especially against a more consistent team like Cringe Society have been probably the most consistent team of anyone. At the moment in the region. Though, I say that Torsos has missed one. Maybe a bit of an easy one, but Spidoge couldn't capitalise. That'll be a shot on. Walcott ties it up.
You hate to see it. Cast the Curse coming through in full swing. As we say that they're consistent, a bit of a really awkwardness on the goal line there, but it's still obviously a credit to Canberra Havoc. They're taking advantage on a lot of the situations that possibly didn't look like an opportunity.
Tied game is always good to see, especially for Canberra Havoc, as you know that they'll be able to steal a goal at some point, and they're good at holding on to a position where the game's not going to go flying away from them. The Duck here has completely bumped out Drippe. That's helped them get it past Decker as well. Torsos has to be up for the save, but when Torsos goes to the save, he also gets a big clear. So that's really worked out in their favor at the moment. And you can see at the other end, Leduk's just hunting for demos.
Yeah, trying to get that offensive pressure to work in his advantage, but the unfortunate thing was Spidoge had no boost to work with, so he couldn't move that ball up fast enough to take advantage, and this is where Cringe Society, having that consistency, having that patience, are taking advantage of their positioning, and Spidoge almost getting enough on there, but it will be very easily cleared by Cringe Society.
Yeah, it was a nice solo play from Spidoge, but unfortunately, again, they overcommitted just a bit too much and couldn't make anything of it. Walcott not really respecting the defenders, but on the same note, they've had a couple of goals where Spidoge just kind of disrespected Drippe and made something of it, though. Decker there almost gets it in, shut down again by Leduk. His pre-jump saves have always been something that have kept Canberra Havoc in a good stead.
Yeah, they've been very fortunate for them. Like, that was a very dangerous shot there coming through by Decker, but the pre-jump save working out in massive stride there. So Canberra Havoc still definitely not out of this match as we are nearing our time in regulation.
They could have had, Canberra Havoc could have had a lot more, but they're just rushing just a tiny bit too much. Maybe have got into that habit of always rushing for the ball. And now this is a quick counter-attack play again. Torsos a shot on. Another one from Decker. That's going to find the net. And Cringe Society take the lead with 4 seconds left.
As you said, the counter-attack play so well executed. That shot by Torsos, absolutely dangerous. Forces out a touch into the middle, and Decker knows exactly where to be to capitalize on it. So right in the dying seconds, Canberra Havoc was holding on to dire moments, but unfortunately, right at the last second, they do give the goal away.
Well, it's been a tough fought battle for Canberra Havoc. They have got a 0-second goal before. Leduk almost snuck that in against the crossbar, but Cringe Society just hold on, and they go on to match point.
I would have been out of my chair and up in arms if that goal had gone in. That was absolutely beautiful to watch, but unfortunately just couldn't get the redirect. But Cringe Society, yeah, again, not looking super comfortable. They did take advantage of some counter-attack plays that worked in their favor, but Canberra Havoc are really giving them a run for their money at the moment.
They really are. Canberra Havoc have been impressive, not just today, over the last couple of weeks. And you kind of think that this is kind of like the pivot point for them. They're not having a huge amount of success, but they're showing such good signs at this point that you're looking kind of the next split, the next couple of months, to see the rise of Canberra Havoc and see if they can really convert what they've got going now to something much better, especially if, I'd say, individually and mechanically, they can start bringing out a lot more and are being a little bit more varied overall as a team. I think that takes them to a whole new dimension if they can.
Yeah, we always talk about mechanics, but it's that unpredictability, being able to create something that's not really the norm and keeps the attackers on their toes. That's where, you can have the most influence. And if they're able to bring that element into their gameplay, they will be a very dangerous team. Yeah,
you kind of look at the weekend as well, where they took down Mind Freak and then proceeded to lose to every other lower team in the competition and not make it into the top 8. They don't have that consistency yet in their play style, and, that's really hurting them at the moment. That's also going to come with time. So not just what we were talking about in terms of mechanics and whatnot, but also just having played together for long enough to really nail down a consistent rotation.
Exactly. Like, after the success that they had with the RLCS run where they were able to actually go to Worlds, they all pretty much disbanded and went their own way, and they have only just reclaimed themselves as a team. So they're still probably trying to sort themselves out to get to where they were before, if not better.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting question whether the fact that they separated even potentially helps them out as they learn new things on different teams. Spidoge gaining some experience with Drippe and Torsos will give him a different appearance than Walcott and Leduk's runs in the off-season. And both of them had some decent results in the off-season, of course. Walcott with Caveman Ben and Misty, and Leduk with Outlast and Steve, both managing to get some good results. But still, you're looking at Cringe Society and the number one team. You may even argue that they've kind of looked a little bit flat today. Their passing hasn't been there. They haven't had as many demos as you normally expect. And again, maybe that's just because they're feeling too comfortable.
Yeah, probably, like you said, the comfort being a massive factor at the moment. Probably not looking to be extremely dangerous on a lot of their attacks, or feel like it's necessary to go for those offensive bump or demos. So, it's a bit interesting to see them, steer away from something that's working so consistently for them.
And that's a shot on again. So Canberra Havoc had some good pressure play. Maybe Drippe has a very low boost. He does after that play. They could have taken advantage of that one if they'd known, but they obviously didn't. Now Torsos will open up the net, and that's a nice play from Cringe Society.
I feel like they're almost listening to the fact that we said there hasn't been a demo play, and then straight away Torsos proving us wrong and getting that goal there.
Really nicely done as well. And again, Cringe Society proving that their consistency is key. So after a very close series and a lot of games that have been very close, they're now not just on match point, but they're also 2 goals ahead in that match point.
Interesting pull shot here coming through. We see Torsos getting the dunk, Drippe going for the shot, but it was actually the bump there by Torsos to really seal the deal there and put that goal in.
Though I do think it was going to go in either way. It was a great angle from Drippe at the beginning, but of course it is interesting to see teams use their opponents to their own advantage, and a bit of a pre-jump from Drippe and got him first to the ball, but didn't really do him any favours.
Torsos almost connecting there from Decker, but now Spido's looking to take control and clear the ball out. It'll be actually Drippe challenging the ball there and actually winning out of that double there, but Torsos having to force a touch there to get the ball out. Drippe fast challenging that as well just to clear that ball, and now a bit of time and space given to Walcott and Leduc to set something up. It's an awkward miss there by Decker with his wave dash, but somehow they still stay goalless.
Well, Spidosh keeps making valiant efforts, especially looking for double taps off the roof is very impressive to see him go for. And he might even find the goal, but it's a big save on the line by Drippe. Holds them in a 2-goal lead. And we haven't seen, really, Canberra Havoc score so many goals across any single game so far. So it's going to be hard for them to score 2 goals in this 1 minute, but they're certainly giving it everything they've got.
Well, we've seen them be really aggressive on attack. They've had a lot of opportunities to keep the ball in a good position, but it almost seems like they haven't, like you said, had anything dangerous to really break apart. We do see this solo play by Walcott, and it was a good opportunity, but it didn't have a dangerous flick on the end.
That's a big 50 in front of the net, and it's not going to be enough. Torsos was there to get the follow-up challenge. 45 seconds left for Canberra Havoc to make something of this. It's a potential opening here for Walcott if he can get to it first. Gets it past one, but Torsos with the clear. It's all up to Spidoge now to make the attack happen, but the touch not good enough. This should be Cringe Society able to hold on and, in fact, extend that lead.
I mean, with 30 seconds, 3 goals, and like you said before, Canberra Havoc haven't really had a high-scoring affair in this series. I would safely say that Cringe Society should be able to hold on to this lead and extend their series lead as well.
And in the end, it is Cringe Society. You're kind of expecting them to take this game on this series overall, but Canberra Havoc has certainly put on a valiant effort. I mean, I think, coming off this, you can say it's a 4-1, but I don't think Canberra Havoc are going to be too upset overall with how they went, especially kind of earlier on in the series. With the first 2 games potentially, well, the first game, it could have potentially been theirs as well.
Well, I mean, even the first 3 games, so they managed to win one of the first 3, but the first match was pretty close. It was a very back and forth kind of match. Second game they won, and third game was a 1-goal match where they were able to keep them right until the end, where Cringe Society did manage to sneak away that goal. So Canberra Havoc, looking on the scoreline, yes, it's a 4-1, but really watching the gameplay, it was a pretty close affair.
Yeah, it was close overall, but it doesn't matter realistically. It ends up going 4-1 for when it comes to the tiebreakers later on the season. And Canberra Havoc still in this position, I'd say, where I guess they need to be looking towards going into, I guess, taking down Fury just to get a 5th spot and make the run up. They didn't manage to take down Mind Freak, which they've obviously proven they could take down twice. But in league play, you have one bad performance, you don't take down Mind Freak, or Mind Freak have a good performance against Canberra Havoc, and that makes all the difference. So they're now looking to sneak in into that top 5.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing with these, low pool round robins is there's a potential to get back into a higher position quite quickly. It could be literally a turnaround of 1 or 2 games. Or, if they do manage to sweep Fury, that puts them in a really good position as well. Because like you said, with the tiebreakers, it's going to go in their favor if they've dropped less games. So it's still a great potential for them to get back into it. But, as we said at the beginning of this series, they need to get some wins on the board.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't get updated either, apparently. Let me just fix that up. That should be updated now. So that's the overall standing. So very close at the top. Everyone has taken down Canberra, Havoc, and Fury so far. And I guess no surprise there. It doesn't matter how good Canberra, Havoc, and Fury have been or how good they are. The top 4 is kind of its own beast in OC right now. And the top 3 even very, very closely fought. Renegades and Cringe Society went to a Game 7 overtime. So did Mind Freak and Ground Zero. So it is a close fought battle. I think this is shaping up to be a really fantastic and amazing top 5 Gauntlet finals, because that run is going to be really interesting to see all these teams versing each other.
Exactly, especially when the difference with the tiebreakers could have a lot of influence on where you position. If you manage to have a really good tiebreaker situation for you and you can be higher up on that gauntlet ladder, then it makes your run a little bit easier. It's less games played, but having such a tight-knit group is going to be very interesting when we get through these next weeks.
Well, I'm excited how that goes, but that is us for tonight. That's the end of the Gauntlet Round 3. Big shout out to Son of Jupiter for coming on and having a good time. You're definitely going to see him again. And thank you all for coming along. We've had a great night. Big shout out to the community who've donated all of the prize money. Over $500 for just this prize pool. And there's also going to be a second season of the